Basically, the economy is growing, everybody is profiting from that, but you still have very low taxes and I would say also a quite low cost of living.
We are about to adopt the euro in less than 2 months, with the fact that Bulgaria has the lowest tax rates in EU. Maybe even 100% of our clients, what they do is they start businesses here in Bulgaria.
Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about, let's say, the cost of living.
We have quite a lot of inquiries from people who want to actually relocate to Bulgaria, start their businesses here.
Bulgaria has so much to offer for individuals just like you and your companies, especially very low taxes, as low as 10%. Today, I'm here in Sofia, Bulgaria with my colleague Radoslav, and we will talk about what it's like for you to move to Bulgaria. My name is Guido Moller, and I'm a licensed corporate service provider. I advise my clients around the world about taxation, relocation, and company formation. Radoslav, welcome.
Always a pleasure, Guido. Thanks for having me.
So, in this video, we would like to give the audience an impression of what it's really like to move to Bulgaria. So, there are these frequently asked questions. For example, what's in it for me? What's the big advantage for me as an entrepreneur to move to Bulgaria?
Well, let's start with, as we all know, as you know, Bulgaria has been part of the EU for almost 20 years now. We are also in Schengen. We are about to adopt the euro in less than 2 months. In this, combined with the fact that Bulgaria has the lowest tax rates in EU, that actually makes Bulgaria some pretty interesting business destination, so to speak.
Okay, and how easy or difficult is it for an EU citizen to settle down in Bulgaria?
Pretty easy, I would say. Uh, Most of our clients, maybe even 100% of our clients, what they do is they start businesses here in Bulgaria. And this is one of the conditions actually to get the Bulgarian residentship. So, how it works, it's normally when a person wants to start a business in Bulgaria, we open the company for them. Uh, Obviously, if someone is going to relocate to Bulgaria, they need a place to live. So at the moment when you rent your apartment, what property, whatever, and you have the company, we are ready to actually apply for the residentship. Normally, it can take like 2 to 3 weeks in the best case scenario. So it's pretty easy, I would say.
So, a straightforward process for EU citizens. And what about third country nationals?
Well, non-EU citizens, when it comes to non-EU citizens, it's a completely different story, understandable. Obviously, it's a different procedure, different requirements, different time frame. It's much more complicated, and yeah, it's definitely a much more difficult process.
It sounds more complicated and lengthy, but it's totally doable,
It
right?
is doable, yeah. It is doable. It is just more complicated, expensive, and time consuming for sure.
I see that. All right. And relocation is basically the process to lead a life in the future in Bulgaria. Let's talk about exactly this life. How is quality of life and lifestyle developing in Bulgaria these days?
Well, I would definitely say that quality of life in Bulgaria is going up constantly, and it really changed during the last 2 decades, and especially in the last few years, 5 to 10 years, I would say quality of life really improved here, and you can easily see that even in the street if you want.
What are you referring to? The nice cars or?
Um, the nice cars are just uh, part of the picture, but People today can afford much more things that they could afford in the past. Indeed, people now, I would say, just live a much better life. Everybody can afford going to vacation, buy a nice car, or a nice home if you want. Or let's not say everybody, but indeed more people than compared to what it used to be in the past. So I would say Bulgaria is definitely catching up with most of the other EU countries. Maybe we're not there yet, but I would say we're on the path.
So basically, the economy is growing, everybody is profiting from that, but you still have very low taxes and I would say also a quite low cost of living. Is that correct?
Totally, yes, totally. The cost of living obviously is getting a little bit more expensive as well. Or it again depends on who you're asking. If some people could say it's getting more and more expensive to live here, and this would be true basically. But also, the wages are going up, and as I said, Bulgaria is slowly catching up with most of the EU countries. So yeah,
Okay, but although cost of living and the wages are increasing compared to its peer group, to its neighbors and the rest of Europe, I would say it's still a very preferential situation for entrepreneurs like me who would come to the country, form a company, employ people. You have low rents, fairly low compared to the West, I would say. And it's basically the ideal scenario for a small to medium company, wouldn't you say so?
I would definitely say so. Yeah, for sure. And we do that, and we see that in reality on a daily basis. Actually, we have quite a lot of inquiries from people who want to actually relocate to Bulgaria, start their businesses here. Some of them they even want to actually live here in Bulgaria.
I see. And from time to time, I hear people comparing Bulgaria to Dubai. Obviously, the comparison is not 100% fair, but basically, you have similarities. You have these low rates, but it's way more affordable and it's still within the European Union and still within, let's say, our sphere of culture. Yeah. What do you think about this statement?
Well, it's indeed an interesting comparison, Bulgaria to Dubai. Indeed, completely different countries and culture and everything. But business wise, in terms of business, I would also say there's quite some similarities, like the very low taxes that we have here. It's very easy to start a business in Bulgaria, especially if you are an EU citizen. And for those who are looking to actually stay in Europe and still pay, I would say, very low taxes, uh, Bulgaria, I would say, is some pretty good destination to go.
I see. And geographically, it's also an interesting location. I mean, you have the Black Sea on one hand, you have Greece on the other hand, Turkey. I mean, it's a very unique part of the planet. This area here where we are right now.
Indeed, indeed, we are in the heart of the Balkans, and as you know, we have quite a different culture compared to most of the other EU countries. But yeah, I would say we are actually pretty proud with our um, culture and history. So there is there is things that people can find interesting here, and I guess more and more people are actually doing that at the moment.
Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about, let's say, the cost of living in terms of renting an apartment studio, one bedroom, two bedroom in the capital of Bulgaria, in Sofia. What price range does one have to expect these days?
Well, if you want to rent some good apartment, maybe a new apartment, newly furnished, one bedroom apartment would cost you at least 700 euros at the moment. Maybe with a garage or a parking space, it would be up to 800 euros, for example. But it really depends on which area exactly this apartment would be situated. You could find even more expensive apartments, but also you could find something cheaper for sure, depending on what exactly you're looking for. Rents definitely went up in the last few years, but I would say it's still more affordable compared to some other EU countries.
But you're definitely talking about some newly built apartment, not some of these old socialist buildings, right?
Well, it depends on the location. Honestly, in the center, most of the buildings are actually old buildings, but because of the location, rents there could be even more expensive. So, location is basically factor number one in this thing, indeed.
I see. And I reckon that Sofia is also the most expensive city in terms of rents in whole Bulgaria.
Obviously, Sofia is the most expensive city in the country. Being the capital, that's pretty normal, I would say.
Definitely. That's what most capitals have in common. Totally agree. What about rural areas, villages, or let's say cities at the Black Sea? Are they more affordable? Do they offer more quality of life, or how you see it? I mean, you're from here, you're from Sofia, right?
I'm not originally from Sofia actually, but I live here. I've been living here for the last more than 20 years now. So yeah. Uh, of course, life in outside of Sofia, in some of the other bigger cities in Bulgaria, is indeed more affordable, uh, and the quality of life. I would say you can find the same quality of life in almost every other big city in Bulgaria for uh, cheap price, so to speak.
I see. And that is mainly because of, I guess, the labor market, because there's a lot of work in Sofia, and that makes it also more expensive.
Yeah, sure. That's the obvious reason. Almost everything is concentrated in the capital or around the capital. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason.
Different question regarding, let's call it logistics. What about airports? Sofia is the capital, of course, has an international airport, but are there any other airports in Bulgaria?
Yes, there are other airports. Plovdiv has its own airport. Varna, Burgas, they also have airports. Some other cities also have their own airports. Not pretty sure how much they work actually, but Varna, Plovdiv, Burgas, and obviously Sofia, they have their own airports.
I see. And let's talk quickly also about education. I mean, there are also families moving to Bulgaria, obviously. What about elementary school, high school, private school, public school? Can you give us some quick overview?
Education in Bulgaria in general, I would say, is very affordable. It's free, basically. Uh, Obviously, if you don't go to some private school or university. So most of the clients that we have here who moved to Sofia, they prefer private schools for their kids. Obviously, more expensive than the standard schools, but still not that much expensive again compared to some other private schools in other EU countries, for example.
All right. And if you send your kids to public school, I suppose they also would have to learn Bulgarian in order to follow the curriculum, right?
Public schools in Bulgaria, everything is just in Bulgarian there. Of course, depending on the school, they have different subjects in different languages and stuff, but normally the whole process is in Bulgarian.
So I guess for most expats, they would rather choose an international private school to send the children. in case they don't already speak Bulgarian, and I suppose that's in most cases not the case. What could you expect price-wise? I mean, what's the range? Where does it start? And I suppose there is no lid, no maximum, but what's a average cost per child per month in Bulgaria on a private school?
Well, I'm honestly not very familiar with fees in private schools, as my kid is still too young to go to a private school. But I would say somewhere around, maybe let's say, 500 euros per month would be the initial the lowest tax in some private schools.
Okay, and since I'm speaking of experience, I can tell that this is, I would say, a big discount compared to other European countries, and especially in, let's say, Dubai or so, you pay a triple or even a quadruple of that. So basically, although it's private education, it's still affordable.
Yeah, uh, I would say so. Yeah, 500 euros if you want your kid to go to private school. 500 euros sounds like a good deal.
Let's quickly talk about tax residency. I mean, obviously, you come here to the country, you form a company, you become an employee of your own company, and you start paying taxes. I guess Bulgaria will not ask too many questions. They're happy if there's a new taxpayer, and they will not, investigate what the client is actually doing, where he's actually staying physically. But there are some rules also, and I think one of the rules is your center of vital interest, or that you stay at least 183 days of the year in Bulgaria. What is your practical experience about that? Also, in terms of audits, how often is the Bulgarian taxman looking into the actual affairs of its foreign taxpayers?
Okay, let's begin with the tax residentship. Obviously, in order to be a tax resident of a country, you have to spend at least half the year in this country. Your center of interest needs to be in this country. That means you have your business there, most probably your family there. Those are different requirements that one needs to cover in order to be considered a Bulgarian taxpayer. And of course, we help people do that. Most of our clients, I would say, who establish their businesses here, they easily cover most of the things, and most of them are enjoying their life in Bulgaria, spending easily more than 6 months in the country. And this is rule number one in order to become a Bulgarian tax resident, obviously.
I see. And what about the taxmen and their, let's say, activities when it's about auditing the taxpayer? I mean, do they really check how long and how often you stay in Bulgaria, or is it actually the taxpayer who has to prove, in order, for example, to get a tax resident certificate, that they spend so much time in Bulgaria? What's the reality?
Well, reality is we advise all our clients you have to stay in the country at least half the year in order to be considered a tax resident here. Obviously, we don't know whether every each and every one of them is exactly staying here for half the year. But normally, if there is some problem or some revision, let's say, the tax authorities could actually try to find out whether the person's been living here at least 6 months, so they can be considered local tax residents.
And how often do such audits occur? I mean, in your practical experience, how often did you witness that?
Not often at all, to be honest. This is our job is actually to make sure that everything is perfect. I mean, from legal standpoint, we really try to do our best, and we advise our clients to follow strictly our advice on what they can do and what they cannot do in order to obey the law.
Well, now a tricky question. Bulgaria recently, I think it was at the beginning of the year, entered the Schengen area, so did its neighbor Romania. So basically, these two full EU member states also joined the Schengen area. So basically, there are no more borders. And of course, there are some clients who are considering using this situation in order to, let's say, pretend to have a tax residency in Bulgaria, but actually physically spending their time somewhere else, abroad, let's say. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, not the right thing to do, in my opinion. We do not advise our clients to do so, but again, we don't follow that, and it's not basically our job to look for that. What we need to know from them that they are actually spending half the year in the country, and for us that's more than enough. We don't go after them to look where they are going and how much time they spend here and there. So we take it for granted, basically.
So, to summarize, you're making sure that the clients have all the information they need to make intelligent decisions, to abide the law, and to stay compliant with the Bulgarian tax legislation. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's the main thing. That's one of the first things that we always talk to our clients about. Uh, some of them, interestingly, they don't spend 6 months in any country, the so-called nomads, but still they spend most of their time in Bulgaria in order to be considered Bulgarian tax residents.
Now you know much more about what it's really like to move to Bulgaria. If you want to know more about the tax system in Bulgaria or company formation, have a look at one of these videos.